The 2025 African Political Parties Summit held in Accra recently gathered more than 160 leaders to foster dialogue, strengthen democracy, and encourage collaboration with key focus areas including youth participation, regional unity, security, climate change, and migration, all aimed at reaching consensus and defining future strategies for good governance and sustainable growth. Hello and welcome. This is our weekly roundup, and I'm your host, Gamachisa Mendida, joined by my colleagues Barakat Sisai and Desta Kahasai. Stay with us. Gentlemen, welcome to our program. And I would like to begin with Barakat. Of course, we had recently the 2025 African Political Parties Summit that took place in Accra, Ghana. Well, what can you say about the objective of this summit?
Thank you very much, Gamachis. As you have said, the African Political Party Summit was held in Accra, the capital of Ghana, for the last 3 days, and then it was concluded yesterday. I would say that the summit was very successful. The deliberation was very successful in that it can bring about 160 leaders, political decision makers, and other stakeholders as well. And it has brought about these leaders to figure out some of the problems, specifically in the politics and the economy and the social aspect as well. They also put forward some recommendation for the solution as well. So it is very much successful. And the summit was also come in a very critical time, in that Africa countries in general has been grappling with so many challenges, specifically in the politics and the economy as well. And the summit, as we recall from the theme, which says from politics to prosperity, which reminded African political parties to play their role in terms of just making the African economy to make a real progress in terms of making a real tangible outcomes for the people. So it was a really successful deliberation, I would say. When it comes to the main objectives of the summit, I would say that it was actually explicit. One of the objective was to bring about these political parties to strengthen inter-party collaboration, not only at the local level, but also at the national, at the same time, the continental levels. And recently, we haven't seen any collaboration among African political parties. This is, I think, the first one, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of just seeing such a kind of deliberation, just such a kind of engagement as well. So one of the objectives was actually bring about these political parties. In that case, I would say that the deliberation, the summit was very much successful. And the other one is, as I have already mentioned, in Africa, the politics is much more inclined toward just power and a kind of like rhetoric and discussion. We haven't seen when politics is actually contributing much in terms of in the economic aspects. And this political party summit actually reminded African political parties to play their role, their expected role in the economic aspect as well. So these two were, I think, the main objective of the summit. And in terms of just delivering this one, the summit was, I think, very much successful. In general, there is a trail endeavors by African countries in terms of redefining the political landscapes to make it the landscape as a framework for change, as a framework for progress. So this summit was actually very much successful in this case as well.
Thank you, Barakat. Desta, let me ask you the issues that were prioritized, during this summit, and why are they important for African development?
Thank you, Gamachis. Start with, I think the African political landscape is characterized with power grab, and even there is no compromising amongst political parties in just running their ideologies or their political programs and so on. And one of the very crucial thing in politics is compromise and negotiate and do all the things that you aspire through a means of discussions and so on. And I think with regard to this, the 2025 African Political Parties Summit has just begun. So it is baby steps for me, But this is a key note that we should take as a very good beginning for all African political parties to pursue, so that they can achieve what is needed in their respective countries and in general even as a continent, Africa. And one of the things that has been mentioned there is political parties are not the end, they are the means to what they would bring to their constituency or to their respective countries that they take part in their elections or whatsoever. So with this regard, I think the very big picture that we all should see is there is a good initiation amongst the political parties from all corners of the continent in coming to a roundtable discussions, so that each and every one of them can share experiences and learn from one another and even fill the gaps they face during their political journey. And the other thing what I can say is that Africa has been tainted in many ways as home to a tyranny, dictatorship, or whatsoever. So this kind of collaboration amongst political parties from across the continent would bring the intended or the aspired success that we all look for constitutional power transfer all over across the continent. And the other very important thing we should all mention is this is opening the door for inter-party collaboration in all the countries, and I think Accra had done the best with regard to achieving to this, the issues with regard to at least some of the things mentioned with regard to the political parties, for example, from the Vice President of Prosperity Party, that African political parties should at least stop and shift from zero-sum thinking. Instead, they should collaborate amongst each other and help one another. And the other thing, again, which is similar to that, is the Center for Africa Governance Chair of Board of Directors has emphasized is that they were not here, all the political parties were not there for the usual ceremonial communique releasing and so on. This was to provoke a reflection, to provoke a change across the political landscape of Africa. And it was a well done thing, I think. So it is a baby step, as I have already mentioned.
Very good, Desta. I just would like to ask you how this summit might in some way contribute to more youth participation and regional unity. We know the African continent is a vast continent, and in it, billions of people live, and there is, a lot of things that's taking place in the continent that, of course, run against, its regional unity and factors, just that contribute to less participation of the youth in development endeavors. And so what do you think the outcome of this summit would help in treating these issues in some way?
Yes, one of the things that has been stressed well enough during this summit is that proactively involving the youth, because Africa is described as a young continent, because 2/3 of the population of Africa, which is 1.2 and plus population, 2/3 of it is young and productive. And the political landscape is not actively engaging the youth. And one of exemplary things that has been mentioned there by His Excellency, the Vice President of Prosperity Party, is that Ethiopia has already started, the Prosperity Party has already started engaging. At least 49% of its leadership is from the youth. This is a good example to set for the African landscape of political scenario, so that new innovative ideas could come up to surface, and some of the things that has been already stuck from behind would be at least given a chance for the new generation to come up with the new African outlook, African ideologies, I think, such as the Medamar, which is similar to synergy. And I think we have seen, if not even in the political landscape, in many innovative ways, we have seen what impactful things has been done from the African youth, say in Rwanda, Kenya, Ethiopia, and so on. Technological advancements have been gaining surface in Africa. So why not in the political scenario? So I think the other political parties have learned good lesson from PP, but that's not enough. I think it has to go more than 49%. It's a good share to start with, but we can go beyond that, I think.
Yeah, Barakat.
Not only the youth which is defranchised from the political process. The women and marginalized group haven't been that much participate and be part and parcel of the politics in Africa. This is, I think, one of the major problems they find out during their discussion. And they also put forward some solution for this one. And one of the solution they put forward was African countries, at the same time, African political parties, they should go back and look their strategies, their policies, and they have to find any hindrance that actually, put a kind of predicament for youth and women, at the same time marginal group, not to be part and a parcel of the process. This is one thing. And the second one is there is also some sort of structural problem in African politics, which is been as the system. They were also advised to look any challenge related to this, the systematic level as well. And the other option they put forward was civic education, also very important. The youth need to be told about their role in the politics. Of course, Africa is the continent of youth population. As Dasta has already mentioned, 70% of the population is youth, and there is a large mass of population dividend. We have to leverage that opportunity. But the youth by itself not really understand, the role that they can make in the politics, So civic education is very important in that regard. And for that, we have to use the technological opportunities. Now we are actually in the 21st century, in the digital era. We have different kind of social platforms. We have to salvage their opportunities to raise the consciousness of the youth regarding politics and economics as well. So this was some of the solution which was put forward by these political parties during the summit.
Thank you, Barakat. I'm asking both of you, which is the world has become, a small village these days for a variety of reasons, mainly technology, of course, the internet. It has brought, the people of the world, in one small slot, we can say. Something happens somewhere and then it is communicated to the globe, and then people, easily can access it. And so we have, of course, migration, which is, a common challenge for African countries, and climate change and security. And all these require, some kind of cooperation in a new way, in a new manner that needs to be, implemented by African countries. And of course, this requires, as you said earlier, political will, yeah? And also you need to put into it, some investment that is unique to the situations. And we can see that some strategies were discussed, among the participants in this summit. And what exactly are these strategies aimed at promoting youth inclusion and regional integration across Africa? Barakat.
I mean, what you have already mentioned about, specifically the challenge that Africa is actually facing. Most of the political parties, especially those who are actually participating in the summit, they have agreed that there is a commonalities when it comes to the challenge that African countries are actually facing. The climate change, the joblessness, and then you can mention it, so many problems. There is some commonalities regarding the challenge that African countries are actually facing by now. For that, they urged African nations, African political parties to come together to find amicable solution, while just come together and by just joining their hands. For all these problems, there has to be, a common approach when it comes to the problems, when it comes to the challenge. For example, when you look at the climate change, it's not a unilateral challenge, rather it's a common challenge. So African countries, they should come together and find amicable solution for this. And at the same time, they have to find a solution for other problems as well. If you allow me, let me mention the speech which was made by the Professor Nana Jani, Vice President of Ghana. And in her speech, she stressed that African countries should come together to unite against the shared challenge. And she was also stating about some of the challenge that African countries are actually facing by now. And she also said that specifically the political parties, they have to think about their role in the economy as well. Politics, which is deviated from the pursuit of citizens' well-being, it's empty, she said. So every political activity, every political system, need to be judged by the outcomes, the result, which is delivered to the people. So the political system in Africa should gear toward bringing about a tangible result in terms of just changing the economy, at the same time putting forward some solution to the problem that you have already mentioned.
Desta, I want to ask you, what exactly took place in this summit that would allow these changes, to come to reality? What's new here? Because these things, the need or the desire to have, this collaboration amongst African nations for development and, of course, for overcoming, these challenges such as security, climate change, migration, and others, have been repeatedly mentioned by each country, we can say, by their leaders. But now what's new, and what exactly are these countries, trying to do at this time, at this moment?
I think what I have already observed from the summit is that at least this is the first time I think the African political parties has come out of their comfort zone. It is imperative that to know that to be able to disclose themselves, that they have to come out of their usual way of making speeches for just election campaigns and re-electing. Instead, they have to deliver what they are saying for the youth and their countries and so on. It has to be tangible, that the people can benefit out of. And the other thing I am very much inclined to appreciate the most is that the destinies of all African countries is bound together. None of the African countries can maintain or secure any of their aspirations in isolation. So coming together and delivering what they aspire to bring about for the Africa we want, and for their respecting countries and citizens they want to deliver, is one of the appreciable things. And the other thing we can also mention is that they should have inclusive dialogues amongst their political parties and so on. And this would ultimately result in diffusing conflict, because when there is a conflict somewhere else, it at least spills over to the neighboring countries and so on. But when they are engaging in an honest and genuine collaboration amongst inter-party collaboration, I think this would be a great journey for African political parties to the prosperity we want.
Barakat, of course, as Desta explains what he has to say, something pop up my mind, which is this summit, has been taken amongst, parties, political parties in the African continent, and countries have been represented by respective parties, political parties. And what unique contributions might have this party participation might have to this summit?
I think that's one of the major reasons why this summit is very peculiar in its sense, so far we know that, most of the time the summit was actually represented by the nation, the states,
Yes.
Specifically in Africa, we have never seen such a kind of summits where African political parties actually come together and discussing about some of the most standing challenge in Africa and put forward some solution for it. So this is a good step. Of course, it is at its initial stage, but it's a good step. It has to be very strong, and I hope it will continue in the future as well.
Desta, you have anything to add to
Yeah,
this?
I think such kind of discussions amongst African political parties has a great role in at least devising the way for the Africa we want. And we can even see it in another way that Africa is initiating solving African problems through African solutions. So if you can see that many of the conflicts that are caused in Africa tend to go to the United Nations Security Council and so on and so on. But if political parties across Africa are collaborating each other, then we will be achieving one of the main and major initiative of African Union, which is solving African problems through African solutions. So this is a good step that the African political parties have already taken, but we would like to see more tangible results just following the communiques and declarations they have already put out.
Okay, I think my next question is, of course, what really has been outlined as this summit, just came to an end?
As we have already discussed about, the summit was concluded yesterday. It was concluded with the declaration of the African
on the 14th of August.
On the 14th of August,
Yes.
and it was concluded with the declaration of the African political party initiatives. It outlines around 10 commitments that put forwarded African political parties will do in the futures, and which is basically revolve around in terms of fostering good governance in Africa, and second one is in terms of maintaining peace and security in Africa, and the third one is propelling economic development in Africa, and the fourth one is it was actually strengthening this inter-party linkage among African countries. I think these are the four things that were actually given a due emphasis in the declaration. We do expect these political parties and this government as well to act accordingly to the declarations, because they outline like around 10 commitments, as I already mentioned. I have to stress inter-party linkage. This is one of the challenge in Africa. Political party, they should come together and they have to work for the shared and the common goals, specifically for the national interest. So in that case, I think introduce a new thing, a new approach. So I would really appreciate the summit in that regard. And the second one is, as I've already mentioned earlier, political parties in Africa, they have a significant role in the economy. They have to enhance their engagement. They have to lead the youth, the women, and other marginal groups to part and parcel of the political as well as the economic process of the country. And the other one is, when it comes to African countries, we don't have that much linkage. We don't have that much connectivity at the national level. So in this case, the political parties would also play an important role. So they were advised to play their significant role in that regard as well. So these are, I think, some of the most important points which was put forward by the declaration in the summit.
Desta?
This is a good thing to at least come out and come together and be able to discuss our challenges and the things that we are facing as an African, and what the solutions could be, and what each and every parties could do, and to help one another and to amend things. Take, for example, the recent peace resolve between DRC and so on. Couldn't we do it here in Africa? Had we had such kind of collaborations, African political parties collaborations, we shouldn't have gone somewhere else. So I think, let's see. Of course, we would like to see how they would implement it on the ground. The willingness is one thing, and coming out and doing it on the ground is another thing. But the initiation, the steps that has already been taken to come together and be able to discuss what are the major challenges that Africa is facing and the countries in Africa. Yeah. And as I have already mentioned, our destinies are bound together. We cannot achieve anything in isolation. So we have to come out as a unified voice in many of the issues that we face, be it climate change, be it political and peace and security, be it in food security, whatsoever. So for all these things, the political elites, the political leadership are at the very realm of making these things happen. So coming up together is, I think, the best thing. So I think it's a good step. Let's just wait and see what will happen.
Sure.
Let me add on something. I mean, specifically when you come to the dialogue, you know, the consensus in African politics, you know, the summit, I think, has gone far in that regard, I would say. Because, you know, some of the challenging politics that we have seen in Africa, for example, the conflict, the political turmoil, which is the byproduct of the lack of dialogue in Africa, dialogue among political parties, you know. So the summit trying to promote dialogue among political parties, not at the continental level, but also at the national level. So
There is a political will
yeah,
to correct, you know, what has gone wrong so far. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that the complaints, you know, made regarding African collaboration so far need to be treated.
Yeah.
As of now, we need
Yeah.
to have a new approach, a new lens
yeah.
to look into it, and so that we just come to the kind of outcome we want, I think.
Even my understanding is like politics in Africa should be redefined. You know, politics is, of course, at its core, it's all about who gets what, when, and how. Of course, it's most of the time shaped by the competing political ideology, interest. But at the same time, it's also, I mean, from my perspective, it is the art of conversation. It is the act of giving and taking. As Desta trying to mention, it is all about compromising, you know. Such a kind of political principle, political, you know, activity need to be introduced and should be, I mean, nurtured in Africa, as we have been moving to a better frontier in the future as well.
Yeah, so we need to come together to make things right.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
I think that's the motto. Gentlemen, I think time limits us right here, and thank you very much for having this wonderful program together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you very much for watching our today's edition, and next time we'll come up with a new one. Until then, goodbye.